In a small town nestled between rolling hills, there was a watchmaker named Elias Grayson. His shop, Grayson's Timepieces, stood on a quiet corner, its large display window filled with delicate clocks and pocket watches that gleamed under the golden glow of the shop's lamps. Elias was known for his unmatched craftsmanship and the peculiar fact that he never spoke. No one in town could recall hearing his voice. Some believed he had taken a vow of silence. Others whispered that he had lost his voice long ago. Despite this, his eyes spoke volumes, deep, intelligent, and filled with stories untold. Customers left notes with their repair requests, and Elias responded with brief, elegant handwriting. One cold autumn afternoon, a young woman named Clara walked into the shop. She was not a local, her clothes were finely tailored, and her demeanor suggested she had traveled far. She placed a small worn pocket watch on the counter. "This belonged to my grandfather," she said. "It stopped ticking years ago. Can you fix it?" Elias picked up the watch, examining it closely. It was an old piece, its gold surface dulled with time. Opening the back, he saw something unusual, an inscription in delicate script. "For every moment we lose, another is found." His brow furrowed slightly, but he nodded and motioned for Clara to return in 3 days. She hesitated, watching him for a moment before leaving. That night, as Elias worked on the watch, he discovered something astonishing. Inside, hidden beneath the gears, was a second, secret compartment. Within it lay a folded piece of paper, yellowed with age. Unfolding it, Elias found a letter written in the same elegant script as the inscription. "To whoever finds this, time is not what it seems. This watch does not merely measure time, it holds it. Use it wisely." Elias felt a strange unease settle over him. He had repaired thousands of watches, but never had he encountered anything like this. Carefully, he finished the repairs and set the watch on his workbench. The moment he did, the air in the shop shifted. The watch hands, instead of resuming their usual ticking motion, began spinning backward, slowly at first, then faster. The room around him flickered, as though the light itself was uncertain whether it should shine or fade. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the motion stopped. Elias found himself standing in his shop, but something was different. The warm glow of his lamps had dimmed, the air smelled of old wood, and outside the window the street was no longer the same. The modern town had vanished. Instead, horse-drawn carriages rolled past, and the gas lamps flickered with an old-world glow. Elias swallowed hard. Somehow, the watch had transported him to another time, and he had no idea how to get back. Elias stood frozen in his shop, his mind racing. The wooden counter beneath his fingers felt the same, the tools arranged just as he had left them. But outside, the world had shifted. The modern storefronts had been replaced by old-fashioned buildings, their signs painted in elaborate cursive. People passed by in elegant coats and long dresses, their conversations carrying a cadence long forgotten. He turned his gaze back to the pocket watch, still lying on his workbench. The inscription glowed faintly under the dim lamp. Elias had spent his life repairing timepieces, ensuring they ran properly, but never had he imagined that time itself could be manipulated. Testing his theory, he carefully adjusted the hands of the watch forward. Nothing happened. He tried turning them backward again, but the air remained still. The watch had brought him here, but it would not take him back. A sharp knock at the door startled him. A man in his 50s, dressed in a well-tailored coat, peered inside. His piercing blue eyes studied Elias with something like recognition. "You're back," the man said, stepping inside without hesitation. "I wasn't sure you'd ever return." Elias frowned, but before he could react, the man extended a hand. I am Victor Alden, and you don't remember, do you? Elias shook his head slowly. Victor sighed. Then, let me explain. You are not just a watchmaker, you are a timekeeper, a guardian of moments lost and found. Elias's heart pounded. He gestured for Victor to continue. You've done this before, Victor said. Years ago, you discovered the secret of the watch. It allows a timekeeper to step between moments, to travel where time bends. But something happened. He hesitated. You chose to forget. Elias's hands clenched involuntarily. He had chosen to forget. Why? Victor reached into his coat and pulled out an identical pocket watch, its surface gleaming as though untouched by time. This was yours. The other watch, the one you repaired, is a fragment of its power. Someone must have sent it to you, hoping you'd remember. Elias exhaled slowly. If what Victor said was true, then he had once wielded the ability to move through time. But if he had abandoned that knowledge, there must have been a reason. What did I forget? He wrote on a scrap of paper. Victor's jaw tightened. Everything. Before Elias could react, the watch on the workbench trembled. The hands spun wildly, the air around it rippling. Victor's expression darkened. Someone else is coming. A moment later, the shop door burst open. A woman in a dark cloak stepped inside, her presence sending a chill through the room. She looked directly at Elias, her eyes sharp and knowing. "Timekeeper," she said, "it's time to come home." Elias instinctively stepped back as the woman in the dark cloak advanced. Her presence felt heavy, as if the air itself thickened around her. Victor stiffened beside him. "You don't remember me, do you?" the woman asked, her voice calm but edged with something Elias couldn't quite place. He shook his head. She sighed. "I thought as much. You made sure of it." Elias exchanged a glance with Victor. Whoever she was, she knew him, knew something about his past that he had deliberately erased. He reached for his notebook and quickly wrote, "Who are you?" The woman's lips curved into a slight smile. "Once, I was your closest ally. Now, I am merely someone trying to bring you back." Victor stepped forward. "He doesn't have to go anywhere. You know that." Her expression darkened. "And you know what will happen if he doesn't." Elias clenched his jaw. He was tired of riddles. He turned the pocket watch over in his hands, feeling the weight of its mystery. He had thought himself an ordinary man, a simple watchmaker, but the truth was slipping through the cracks of his forgotten past, and with each moment he felt a tug, a whisper of something long buried. The woman watched him carefully. "You erased your memories for a reason, but time is breaking. You are the only one who can fix it," Victor scoffed. Or maybe he chose to forget because he wanted to live a real life, a quiet life. Elias swallowed. A choice. Once he had made one, and now he was faced with another. Slowly, he lifted the pocket watch and turned the hands once more. This time, with purpose. The air shifted again, trembling like ripples on water. Memories flooded back, not in words, but in feelings, 1,000 moments across centuries. Faces he had known, places he had traveled, time bending at his will. A life not bound by years, but by purpose. His fingers stilled on the watch. He met the woman's gaze. "Take me back." Victor exhaled sharply, but he said nothing. He knew the decision had been made. The woman nodded. She stepped forward, placed her hand over his, and together they turned the watch's hands one last time. The shop around him flickered. The walls dissolved into light. The scent of old wood, the ticking of clocks, all faded. And then, silence. Time had found him once more.